What's up everyone, CEO here with week 5 of the NES. This week we are taking on Flooka, coach of the San Diego Golisopadres. We've battled Flooka a lot on the channel actually. We've been rivals since season 1 and have actually done a couple of projects together as well. Literally every game we've had has come like down to the wire. Normally comes down to like a crit or some like unfortunate piece of hacks that goes one way or the other, but it's generally like a really good game and we tend to predict each other pretty well. So I've been looking forward to this battle. I didn't have as much prep as I normally do. This battle's actually coming a week late because I've been so busy with stuff that I've just not really had the time to sit down and actually record a postcom, but I finally am putting aside a little bit of time to do it now. So if I'm a little rusty, I don't know why things happen and the decisions I make this week, that's probably why. But first up, we have Zygarde and I Lego with Side Shock, Thunderbolt, Sludge Wave, and Power Gem. Actually, before I get into that, let me pull up this. This is Flooka's team as well. So you can see that he has Skarmory, Salamence, Nidoking, Lycanroc, Dusk, Slurpuff, Sneasel, Megalophony, Slowking Superior, Darmanican, and Vikavolt. So very hard-hitting team, definitely. Pretty physical as well. I'm actually bringing what looks like a dual Intimidate core, but him on top actually isn't Intimidate this week, spoilers. I definitely have my work cut out for me this week. So getting into that now, we have Zygarde and I Lego with those 4 coverage moves and then max speed, but with enough attack to be able to get special attack boosts on Beast Boost. If I can predict around his team correctly, Nihilego can kind of just like 6-0 his team. Like it has to be kind of in the right situations and it has to have certain stuff weakened, but these 4 coverage moves with his team can basically hit everything super effective, I think, except for Lycanroc Dusk. Except for Lycanroc, I guess. So everything else gets hit really hard, and Lycanroc doesn't really have a ton of bulk anyway, so plus I also have a Scarf Starmie this week. I figured Scarf Starmie is not really like the most common set anymore because it's not really like hard hitting enough to normally run a Scarf, but I figure Analytic hasn't let me down this season so far, so if I can get Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, or Bolt Beam coverage off for his entire team, that would be nice. I really wanted to run Surf or something because obviously he does have the Nidoking and the Lycanroc and the Darmanitan, but I wanted Dazzling Gleam because I did not want to have absolutely nothing to hit the Sneasel besides Thunderbolt, because I mean Sneasel's not bulky, but it's definitely going to take 2 Thunderbolts or whatever, and then that gives him a free switch into Nidoking after he figures out I'm Scarfed or whatever. So I wanted to have an option on there, but I definitely did go back and forth between having Surf and stuff as well. Next up is Aquaberry Ferrothorn with Stealth Rock, Leech Seed, Protect, and Power Whip. Honestly, this is a pretty fucking standard Ferrothorn. Just get the rocks up and kind of just Leech Seed around, be kind of annoying and stick around for a lot longer than possible. Normally, the Aquaberry obviously isn't going to stop Darmanitan, but I do expect Slowking to kind of carry fire coverage, and I expect Nidoking to also have fire coverage. Also, wouldn't really be surprised if Salamence brought Fire Blast, honestly, because I do like Ferrothorn, and I know Flooka knows that I like Ferrothorn, so he'll probably just bring fire coverage on some kind of weird stuff. This will basically allow me to take that pretty much guaranteed because I'm max speed F and have an Aquaberry. And then can get rocks up or just Leech Seed stall something down if I need to. Next up is Choppleberry Incineroar with Flamethrower, U-Turn, Darkest Lariat, and Drain Punch. I'm actually running a mixed Incineroar this week because he has Skarmory. Skarmory has crazy good regular defense and can roost off all my stuff, but Flamethrower, even without like any real investment, is a very solid 2-hit KO. So trying to get back to running more mixed stuff because I always make fun of Nerd for not running mixed stuff, and then actually haven't really been running very much mixed stuff myself, so put my money where my mouth is, I guess. And then U-Turn Darkest Lariat is its signature move that ignores stat changes. I don't actually remember if plus defense was an issue this week. It doesn't look like it, but it's still nice to have, I guess, especially since it's stronger than knockoff. after an item's gone and stuff, and this will just do really solid damage to Slowking throughout the game, as well as being able to pivot out. And then Drain Punch is there to hit Sneasel pretty much, because Incineroar also hardwalls Sneasel. Luckily, because Mimikyu does not. I'm running a Life Orb Mimikyu this week with Bulk Up. Bulk Up's not really there for anything specifically, honestly, because you can see I'm actually kind of running like a speedy, bulky Mimikyu. I'm trying to play around with my EVs a little bit more to kind of throw coaches off that are a little bit more reliant on calcing, and I know Flooka, when he kind of panics, sometimes calcs and stuff to try to figure it out. So I wanted to run a max speed, max HP Bulk Up set just to try to see if I could do some damage to stuff. Drain Punch, Play Rough, and Shadow Claw are enough to hit anything on his team for super effective damage, or at least like solid neutral damage. And with a Life Orb, I'll actually be doing decent damage, and with Drain Punch, I'll actually have a little bit of recovery, so the Life Orb recoil won't hurt as much, I guess. And then finally, we have AV Technician Hitmontop with Mach Punch, Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Rapid Spin. Rapid Spin's honestly just there to make sure that Incineroar doesn't get worn down too fast. Because obviously, like, rocks don't really hurt the team, but it's kind of nice just if they're not there, especially since Hitmontop resists, so it only takes 6% and they can get rid of the rocks. Technician Mach Punch this week with Max Attack Adamant ends up doing a very, very solid amount to Mega Lopunny, but I know he really likes Mega Lopunny and is very likely to bring it, so I want to make sure that I'm prepared for it. Kind of feels weird not bringing like close combat for Mega Lopunny, but Mach Punch honestly does like a ton anyway. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a solid 2 KO even if he's like a weird bulky one. And then I'm just bringing Edge Quake coverage because Edge Quake is good. So let me switch over to the battle. Alright, so as you can see, he brought the Lopunny, and he brought the Sneasel, and he brought the Darmanitan and Nidoking like I expected. I didn't really talk about Slowking very much in my coverage, and that's because like I had prep for it, but Flooka's team was scary enough that like Slowking prep kind of got pushed out of the way for other stuff, I guess. And then Serperior like basically has 2 sets, and it's like a Glare Subseed set, or it's a Leaf Storm set, or some combination of the two, pretty much. But everything else is basically what I expected, so I feel like it's going to be a pretty good battle. I am honestly pretty safe to just lead Incineroar here, because I have the Chople Berry, so if he does lead Mega Lopunny and tries to just go for a high jump kick, I can take the high jump kick with thanks to the Chople Berry, go for a Drain Punch, or even just U-turn out into Starmie or something like that. Probably U-turn out into Mimikyu, honestly, but either way. I will be leading Incineroar. I made this window too big, sorry, let me adjust this really quick. I had the window resized and accidentally got rid of my buttons to actually pause the game, but this should be good. Okay, so you can see he leads Darmanitan, which is fine. I can take a Rock Slide pretty easily because of the Intimidate, so I'm just going to go for a U-turn. He does the same. Obviously it doesn't do anything because he's -1. My U-turn does a pretty solid amount to him, but that damage suggests that he has a ton of HP investment and probably some physical investment. So I'm just going to go out into Mimikyu now and try to get the damage off that I need to get off. Unfortunately, because I'm a max HP, max speed one to outrun Nidoking, and a couple other things, honestly my speed creeping wasn't great this week because I didn't have enough time, but that's okay. So because I'm not invested in attack enough, my Shadow Claws are only doing about 40% unless I get the crit to kill this thing off right now. I could go for a Bulk Up, but I don't want him trying to go for a Calm Mind or a Nasty Plot or anything, because that'll obviously kind of hurt. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to get the damage off that I can to go for Shadow Claw. It does 43%. He goes for the Scald to break my disguise, which is a good play. Unfortunately, he gets the burn, so a little early hacks in our Flooka game means that unless I get a crit, I'm not going to be able to kill him right here. I expect him to just slack off at this point, so I'm actually going to go for a Bulk Up to try to minimize the burn damage. Because, like, honestly, I'm kind of already in with this thing. I don't really want anything else to get Scald burned at this point. I can't really go straight into Starmie because if he has Shadow Ball, that's going to do a ton of damage, and I'm not going to switch into something else that's also weak to Shadow Ball. So I'm just going to go for the Bulk Up. If he tries to be a little more offensive, that's fine, because I should be able to kill with the Shadow Claw from that point. But instead he switches out into Darmanitan, so I'm kind of just forced to stay in. Luckily, at +1 defense with my max HP, I'm actually able to take a Flare Blitz if it's Scarfed, surprisingly. So he goes for that. I live on 4, get a decent amount of recoil off, and get rewarded for staying in, I guess, by getting the crit. I wouldn't really say rewarded normally, but Shadow Claw does have a high crit % chance, so it's at least somewhat likely for it, I guess. At least as likely as a Scald Burn, I think. So now I gotta go Nihilego, and it's at this point that I can make a prediction basically at any point. So depending on what I click here, like if I click the right move as he switches into something, it just dies basically, or he has to pivot out into something else. If he stays in with Darmanitan, I just go for Power Gem. If he goes into Superior and I click Sedge Wave, that thing drops. If he goes into Slowking and I click Thunderbolt, that thing will actually drop or be forced to switch out. I don't remember if it actually kills from where it's at, because it'd be like 60% when it came back in, but it'll do a decent amount of damage. And then Psyshock just makes Nidoking drop, basically. So I'm running through my options here because something can die here potentially, and I ultimately decided to just kind of take the dice roll and go for Psyshock, because I expect Nidoking to come in. Unfortunately, Slowking comes in instead, so that's a little bit more recovery to Slowking, which is kind of proving to be a little bit more annoying to take down now that Mimikyu's gone. Like I still have Ferrothorn and I still have Incineroar, but gotta be careful still, I guess. So I'm forced to switch out into Ferrothorn because I don't really want to take that Psyshock. I'm in now, so I might as well try to set up rocks because he does have Darmanitan and Sneasel, and his only removal would be Defog Superior. And if he's Defog Superior, then that means he's not anything like actually scary, I guess. So he does go for the Flamethrower. Because I'm Spadef, I can even like take another one after this, so I just decided to go for Leech Seed because I might as well. Unfortunately, he goes for a Scald, and because Scald is 100% chance when it's against you, it burns me again. I'm not like actually salty about it because you use Scald to get burned, so I'm pretty used to it. But I was still going to go for the Power Whip there because it would have done a decent amount of damage to Superior. And he shows these Leftovers, which kind of makes me a little more scared that this is the Subseed set that I was a little more afraid of. So at this point, honestly, I kind of forget what I do here. So I go Incineroar because it can take a Leaf Storm at this point. I actually kind of forget that I give it an attack boost, which is funny because of Intimidate. So if he is a weird mix Superior, this actually could prove to be a little bit of an issue here. But I don't really expect that here, I guess. So predicting him to actually get scared out here by the Fire-type move, I'm going to go for a U-turn and just try to get the damage off that I can. But he instead goes for the Glare, gets the Paralysis off on me, which is annoying, and then I end up going Nihilego, which honestly is a perfectly fine play because then it just puts me back in the position to click a move and get a kill. But for some reason during the game at this point, like, I don't really remember my weird mindsets for bad plays a lot of the time, but for this specific play, I A, forgot that he was Leftovers, and B, like, forgot that I was Choice Scarfed, or like my dyslexia kicked in and I thought vice versa, I guess. I don't really know. But either way, during the game even, I said that this was a misclick. It wasn't really, because I can click any move here and just get a kill because I'm Scarfed. And like, I think even if I wasn't Scarfed, like, I may be able to take a Leaf Storm. Maybe not a +2, but either way, like, I say that this is a misplay because instead of staying in here and clicking a move on this thing that could just drop at this point, I end up actually doubling back into Ferrothorn. I'm going to go ahead and say right now that this is a misplay because, as you're about to see, he has HP Fire for me to be able to take me out here. I still, even though Ferrothorn was burned, I still could have Leech Seed stalled a lot more of his team, as well as actually having, like, just a sack later in the game, honestly. So being able to sack Ferrothorn for basically nothing is probably, like, the biggest misplay of this game, honestly. And, like, I even knew it was a misplay at the time, but I thought it was because of a misclick, but honestly it was because I just freaked out for not switching into Starmie like I wanted to. because my main play at that point was to actually just go into Starmie and click Ice Beam and just get a kill and assume that his Sneasel didn't have Pursuit, pretty much. But because I went Nihilego, and like I realized after I went Nihilego that if he was Scarfed for some reason, he could have outsped me, even though he just went for 2 different moves. like everything about it was just like a complete mental like brain fart, I guess, for a turn. So like trying to recover from that now, but I just wanted to kind of put you back into that mindset, I guess, because if you're as confused as I am, congratulations, that's how I felt after I watched this battle back, I guess. So now I make the play that I was going to make anyway and just go into Starmie because, as I said, I am Scarfed. Even if he's Scarfed somehow, like, I don't know how you Scarf leftovers, but if he is, I guess, I'm able to kill here. So he goes Darmanitan to sack it off. Ice Beam obviously does 3% to a Darmanitan. He goes Sneasel, which I expected, so now I'm just going to switch out and hope he doesn't Pursuit Trap me, which he doesn't, which is nice. He goes for the knockoff to get rid of my Choppleberry, which sucks, because now I can't take anything from Lopunny, like, at all. But I'm not really, like, forced to predict here, I feel, so I play it a little safe here and just go for a Drain Punch in case he stays in and tries to go for, like, a low kick or something. I would have had the Drain Punch to get all my health back and be able to live anything. But now that Slowking's in, I'm basically forced to just Darkest Lariat. I'm pretty sure I take a Scald if it's like a fully defensive Slowking from here, but I still have to take that chance anyway, because I am kind of on the back foot at this point. And the Slowking is quickly running out of answers on my team. So I go for the Darkest Lariat, but unfortunately I get paralyzed on that turn. Darkest Lariat from this from this Incineroar would have done a ton to this Nidoking. So that paralysis is actually kind of big, but it's okay because that's why you paralyze stuff, I guess. So the only thing on my team that can really take on this Nidoking at this point is actually Hitmontop. I could go into Starmie and basically take 1 hit, but then I'm basically back at the point I was at with Superior, where he just switches into something and then goes back into Sneasel, and I didn't really want that at that point, because I didn't really want... Well, honestly, that probably would have been a better scenario, but that's okay, because I go Hitmontop. Because I'm Assault Vest, I'm actually able to take this Sludge Wave pretty well. So I can basically threaten stuff out with an Earthquake. Because that did 19%, and I know that I'm max attack Adamant Technician, I know that's going to kill, thankfully. So he goes into Slowking here. Obviously, this thing's back up to full because Regenerator is the stupidest ability of Pokemon. And as I said, I'm kind of running out of answers. So at this point, I just end up going into Starmie because it's the only thing I really have to switch into this thing at all. And I just basically have to start predicting and firing off Thunderbolts on if he's actually going to stay in or not. So basically every one of these turns, by the way, is a very long 50-50 on do I go for another Thunderbolt or do I predict his Nidoking coming in and switch into either Nihilego or Hitmontop again. Because I can't really risk a Scald Burn on either, like, I'm kind of on the back foot with these predictions, but I also have to kind of keep making them, because if I can get this Slowking out of the way from him over predicting a little bit, it opens the game up a ton for me, basically. So turn number 2, I decided to just go for another Thunderbolt, because I have to hope that he doesn't switch. He doesn't, thankfully, and he goes for another Scald, so slowly but surely the Starmie's getting worn down. But thankfully we got all the burns out of the way early, it seems, because we end up actually dodging another one right there. And at this point, I'm pretty sure he's going to switch, but I also don't want to over-predict, switch into Hitmontop as he goes for a Scald, get that thing burned, and then suddenly I can't kill anything. So I'm forced to Thunderbolt again, as I kind of expected, though he switches. So I kind of have to go into something to sack it off or go Hitmontop, but I can't actually take 2 Sludge Waves. So I'm forced to go into Incineroar and sack it off here, which again also sucks because now Slowking is just being very annoying all game. But I'm able to kill this thing off with an Earthquake at this point. And if I get a good roll here, actually, I can kill off this Slowking with an Earthquake, so I'm just going to go for it again. I think he realized that and just decided to sack off Sneasel because he realized it wasn't really doing that much at that point. And then goes Lopunny. And at this point, I'm like basically forced to stay in and go for a Mach Punch. Fake out's gonna hurt, and he can honestly just kind of fake out, switch out, fake out, switch out, fake out, and then just like kill this Hitmontop because it's obviously not Intimidate. But at this point, Mach Punch is a 2-hit KO, and I don't really want him going for anything to kill either of my Scarfers at this point, because I feel like both of my Scarfers outspeed the things that I need them to outspeed, so they're a little bit more important at this point. So I go for the Mach Punch. As you see, it does almost kill, actually. He goes for the return to take me out. I don't actually know if Nihilego would have taken a return, honestly, but I didn't really want to chance that. But I can go Starmie now because I'm about to get an analytic boost on something. I get the 50-50 wrong because, as you can see, I went for the Ice Beam predicting the Nidoking instead of the Slowking coming in. So it's kind of like 0 for 3 on, or 0 for 4, I guess, on predicting the Slowking in this game, because it kind of came in every time I was expecting the Nidoking to come in, and then every time I like expected it to stay in, it switched out. So unfortunately, I'm forced to just basically hard swap here, or just go for another Ice Beam. I get super lucky and get a crit freeze there. It's not like the biggest deal because he has Scald and can go for it here, so it's not like that freeze like wins me the game or anything. But because he's actually forced to go for Scald now instead of Psyshock, I can actually switch into Nihilego basically for free, because I know that I can actually take a Scald pretty well. I can't take 2 Scalds, but I can take 1 Scald pretty well, and then I'm at least forcing him on the back foot slightly a little bit. So even though it didn't matter a ton, it did kind of limit his move choice to the point that I could actually feel safe switching in here. And then I just have to try to go for a move to kill and get a Beast Boost at this point. The combination of Nidoking and Slowking is looking like it's going to be too much for me to be able to take out with both of my Scarfers at this point, so I just have to try to get the damage I can. Obviously Earth Power is going to completely destroy Nihilego. And then Starmie with the Scarf doesn't actually have a coverage move that would be able to actually take out both Nidoking and Slowking at this point. If I ran Grass Knot on either Nihilego and or Starmie, this endgame looks extremely different, by the way, because I think I'm actually able to just Grass Knot my way to victory here. But because I don't, I have to basically just hope on Psychic crits to be able to do the damage that I need him to do. He just has too much health left on the Nidoking though, or on the Slowking though, because as you can see, he's able to finally wear me down with this thing. It took 5 Scalds to be able to actually kill me, but he finally got it done. And if I would have had like 1 or 2 more turns of damage on this thing, I would have been able to kill. But either way, it was a really good battle. Flooka played really well. And honestly, outside of me kind of sacking Ferrothorn for no real reason, I feel like I did okay as well. I do feel like I was a little safe this game, and I think that was ultimately the thing that kind of lost me the game. I feel like I had decent Slowking answers, and then I kind of just didn't really use them right, I guess. Either in terms of EVing them right for Mimikyu's case, or just kind of throwing it away for Ferrothorn's case, I guess. And I guess in Cinever's case also, honestly. So I used half the team well, I guess. Flooka played a really good game though, because I don't want to take anything away from him. Like, I don't want to play his team again, honestly, so hopefully if I do get to the playoffs, I don't have to. So we're 2-3, and unfortunately this coming week I have to play HBK, and he has a 4-1 roster right now. So continuing my trend of, I don't know who the fuck made my schedule, but whatever. And I guess I didn't actually even mention this before now, but Crazy and I obviously didn't battle last week. He didn't actually get back to me in time, unfortunately, so I had to take the forfeit win for that. So that's why I'm 2-3, even though I only have 1 win on the channel. But hopefully I can pick it up here soon. Honestly, it's kind of discouraging how the season started, because I feel like I'm kind of letting down my draft, honestly, because I feel like someone could take this draft and use it better than I have been. But I'm hoping to be able to use a little bit more prep time coming soon, so stay tuned, guys. Sorry. Drop a like and subscribe if you're at least liking the commentary for this, even if I'm not actually winning yet. And I'll see you next week. Bye.